He promised prosperity. He promised progress. He promised a brighter future for the Philippines. Fidel Ramos, the 12th president of the Philippines, rose to power on a wave of hope. But did his actions match his words? Or did his presidency become a story of broken promises and a nation betrayed? Many Filipinos believe Ramos sold their country for personal gain. They accuse him of sacrificing their future for his own enrichment. The evidence, they say, is all around them. The wounds of betrayal cut deep. The pain of lost opportunity lingers. This is the story of how a nation's trust was shattered, and how the consequences of that betrayal continue to haunt the Philippines today. The Philippines in 1992 was a nation emerging from darkness. The shadow of Ferdinand Marcos's martial law still loomed large. The economy was in tatters. Hope seemed a distant dream. Into this void stepped Fidel Ramos, a West Point graduate and former general. He promised to heal the wounds of the past and lead the Philippines into a new era of prosperity. His Philippines 2000 plan was ambitious. It aimed to transform the country into a newly industrialized economy. Privatization and deregulation were the cornerstones of his strategy. He vowed to attract foreign investment and unleash the potential of the Filipino people. But at what cost? The Philippine economy roared to life under Ramos. Foreign investment poured in. Growth rates soared. The Philippines was hailed as the next Asian tiger economy. Ramos deregulated key industries, opening them up to private competition. He tackled corruption and streamlined bureaucracy. The world applauded. Awards and accolades were showered upon him. Ramos seemed to have worked a miracle. But beneath the veneer of success, a darker truth was beginning to emerge. One by one, the crown jewels of the Philippines were sold off. State-owned assets, built with the sweat and toil of generations, were auctioned off to the highest bidder. Power plants, telecommunications companies, banks, even prime real estate, including historical landmarks, were not spared. Was this economic reform, or was it a fire sale? Ramos argued that privatization was necessary to attract investment and improve efficiency. But critics cried foul. They accused him of selling off the nation's patrimony at bargain basement prices. They questioned the transparency of the deals and alleged that cronyism and corruption were rampant. Section 5, Fort Bonifacio, a wound on the nation's soul. The sale of Fort Bonifacio was a turning point. This historic military base, a symbol of Philippine independence, was sold to a consortium led by a close associate of Ramos. The price? A pittance, according to critics. The people were outraged. Protests erupted across the country. How could a place so central to their history, so steeped in the blood of their heroes, be sold off like a piece of merchandise? The sale of Fort Bonifacio cut deep into the soul of the nation. It became a symbol of everything that was wrong with Ramos's privatization program. Section 6, the unseen costs of progress, poverty, inequality, and environmental ruin. While the economy boomed, not everyone shared in the prosperity. In fact, for many, life got harder. The gap between the rich and the poor widened into a chasm. Millions remained mired in poverty. Privatization led to job losses and rising costs for essential services. The environment, too, paid a heavy price. Unregulated development led to deforestation, pollution, and the destruction of natural habitats. The very beauty that drew tourists to the Philippines was being sacrificed on the altar of economic growth. Section 7. The darkness descends. Energy crisis and financial turmoil. The cracks in Ramos's economic miracle began to show. The much-vaunted privatization of the energy sector led to chronic power shortages. Rolling blackouts became a regular occurrence, crippling businesses and disrupting daily life. Then came the 1997 Asian financial crisis. The Philippine peso plummeted. The economy went into a tailspin. The crisis exposed the fragility of Ramos's economic model and the risks of relying too heavily on foreign capital. Section 8. Build, Operate, Transfer, a legacy of debt and discontent. To fund his ambitious infrastructure program, Ramos embraced the Build, Operate, Transfer, or BOT, scheme. Private companies were contracted to build roads, bridges, and other infrastructure projects. The government would then lease these projects back, eventually gaining ownership after a certain period. But these projects came at a cost. The contracts were often skewed in favor of the private companies, leaving the government saddled with debt and soaring costs. The BOT scheme, once touted as a solution, became another burden on the Filipino people. Section 9. A tarnished legacy, the price of betrayal. Fidel Ramos left office in 1998, his presidency a study in contrasts. He had overseen impressive economic growth and restored democracy after years of authoritarian rule. But his legacy remains deeply contested. The privatization of state assets, the widening gap between rich and poor, the environmental degradation, and the specter of cronyism continue to haunt the Philippines. Did Fidel Ramos betray the Philippines? The question continues to divide the nation. One thing is certain, the consequences of his actions, both positive and negative, will continue to shape the destiny of the Philippines for generations to come. The true cost of his presidency is yet to be fully accounted for.